Hi, welcome. Shout out to Camila. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Jennifer. I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you for asking. Hi, Mary. Shout out to Mary. I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thank you for asking. Yes, me too, Jennifer. I can't wait for Christmas. Shout out to Quinn. Shout out to Carla. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Aspen. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Eleonora. Shout out to Madeline. Leave your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Lucas. Shout out to Easton. Shout out to Koraima. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Jackson. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Rayhan. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Grazia. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Sylvie. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Oliver. Shout out to Carolina. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Ellie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 20 likes. Shout out to Yvonne. Shout out to Darixa. Shout out to, thank you, Cormac. Shout out to 11. Shout out to Darixa, I got you. Shout out to Mandy. Oh wait, no, it's not Mandy. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Thank you, Eloa. Shout out to Eloa. Shout out to Daimaris. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Min. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Ira. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to Luciana. Hello. Shout out to, is it Shamim? Oh, Sumaya. Shout out to Sumaya. Oh, shout out to me. Cormac says, is your name down yet? I'll put a shout out to Ness. Shout out to Musfira. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Nitik. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Oscar. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Autumn. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content that I hope you can check out Shout out to Finley. Shout out to Ophelia. Shout out to Andres. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jax. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Zamaria. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Juliet. Shout out to Carmela. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Maria Luisa. Shout out to Melody. Thank you, Yvonne. Shout out to Braylon. Shout out to Maria Luisa. Thank you, Rosemary. Shout out to Rosemary. You can see my main channel. My face is there. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Alexandra. Shout out to Ava. Oh, I got Ava right here. Shout out to Alexandra. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Iva. No, sorry, why did I say Iva? Sorry. Shout out to Evie or Ivy. Shout out to Landry. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Alianne. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Dominique. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Regina. Shout out to Skyra. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Evangeline. Shout out to Nyla. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Shout out to Paxton. Shout out to Anya. Shout out to Christian. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Suhail. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Olympia. Shout out to Alexis. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Victor. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Aliana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Daria. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Angel, I got you. Shout out to Ash. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my shout outs. I hope we can get to 30 likes. On to the next page. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Carson. Shout out to Nikki. Shout out to Giselle. Shout out to Miranda. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Rashna. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aliana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Miranda. Shout out to Kyla. Shout out to Story. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to Pietro. Shout out to Marioris. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to Matilda. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Xavion. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Carlos. Oh my goodness, I messed up. Let me do it again. Shout out to Carlos. Shout out to Rashi. Happy birthday, Aliana. Shout out to Aliana. Shout out to Cora. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for 30 likes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Mita. Shout out to Yenny. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to VJ. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Drea. Shout out to Amara. Shout out to Yaeli. Shout out to Juanita. Shout out to Vika. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Heidi or Haiti. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Perla. Shout out to Yaslin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Moses. Shout out to Mita. Mita, I got you. I think I got you. Yeah, Mita right here. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Celia. Shout out to Hakima. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Zia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to Milo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Candice. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Kat. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ashlyn. Shout out to Alessia. Shout out to Isaiah. Shout out to Daniela, I got you. Or someone said Daniela. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Madison. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Owen. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sado. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Pranjal. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Skyla. Shout out to Jaylene. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Elsie's. Shout out to Elias. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Jennifer. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 50 likes. I hope we can get to 50 likes. Shout out to Waylon. or Waylon. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Ava Lava. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Heaven. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Harper, I got you. Shout out to Sanaya. Shout out to Samtha. Shout out to Carson. Shout out to Aruj. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Marina. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Paige. Shout out to Quinn. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Kai. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Maddie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to these people. Okay, on to the next page. Thank you for 50 likes. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well and support my channel. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Chloe Rose. Chloe Rose. Shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to Willow. Shout out to Nitty. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Sienna. Shout out to Zaylee. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Lainey. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 60 likes. Shout out to Santi. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Gerard. Shout out to Peyton. Shout out to Zanab. Shout out to Jacaden. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Waylon. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Ramirez. We're almost at 60 likes. Shout out to Andy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to Olympia. Shout out to Ivan. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to Chili. Shout out to Sanaya. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Tintin. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Bye Maria. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Mara. Shout out to Ian. Shout out to Liam. Shout out to Dayanara. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Samar. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Kadeja. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Thank you for 60 likes. Shout out to Momo. Shout out to Kira or Kyra. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Eva. Shout out to, is it Xavier? Shout out to República Dominicana. There we go. Oops, I messed up. There we go. Shout out to Chance. Shout out to Zach. Shout out to Cairo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Zay. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Juliana. Is it Juliana? Or Juliana? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Messiah. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to Juliana. Shout out to Kay. Shout out to Palmyra. Shout out to Paulina. Shout out to Samara. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Tahani. Shout out to Ozzy. Shout out to Koraima. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 80 likes. We're almost there, only 6 more likes. Shout out to Gorsifat. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Aaliyah. I'm gonna put Charlotte over here. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Osmar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Doreen. Shout out to Lila or Lilia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Mira. Shout out to Betty. Shout out to Rumi. Shout out to Miftaha. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Destiny. Shout out to Apuz. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Baby Saja. Saha. Baby Saja. Shout out to London. Shout out to Alejandro. Shout out to Amir. Shout out to Dorley. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Paris. Shout out to Samina. Shout out to these people. Thank you for 80 likes. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Excuse me. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Emmy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jamie. Shout out to Ryan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jameer. Emmy, I got you. Shout out to Cicely. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Afrin. Or Afrin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Nova. Shout out to Joseph. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to AK. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Josephina. Shout out to Annie. Shout out to Jasley. Shout out to Lainey or Lonnie. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Emmett. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Asia. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Felixia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Misty's. Shout out to Truth. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 90 likes. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Naya. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to, oh, I already did Cora. Shout out to Derry. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Fabian. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Tiffany. Shout out to Hayden. Thank you for 90 likes. I hope we can get to 100, only 80 more likes. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Suhana. Shout out to Jane. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Laurel. Shout out to Eden. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Janina. Shout out to Isnaira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Briella. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Emini. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Minty. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to James. Shout out to Isabel Rose. Shout out to Emerson. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Daniel. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Laura. We're almost at 100 likes, only 1 like away. Shout out to Margot. Shout out to Every. Shout out to Kaya. Thank you for 100 likes. Shout out to Astrid. Shout out to Murphy. Shout out to Alfredo. Shout out to Liv. Shout out to Kendally. Shout out to Audra. Shout out to Tyvis. Tyavis, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Murphy, I got you. Shout out to Koi. Shout out to Issa. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Jace. Shout out to Elle. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Diliora. Shout out to Zara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Barry. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Inca. Shout out to Easton. Shout out to Shafa. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Annabelle. Oops, Annabelle. Shout out to Hazel. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Kason. Shout out to Kiara. Shout out to Nayeli. Shout out to Antonella. Shout out to Luna. Luna, I got you. Nayeli, I got you. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Annabeth. Or Annabeth. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Janice. Shout out to Nicole. Or is it Nikolai? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. I got you, Luna. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Avi. Shout out to Carmela. Shout out to Munisa. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Myra. Shout out to Nitty. Shout out to Moon. Shout out to Noelle. Shout out to Harmony. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Gregoria. Shout out to JJ. Shout out to Vamsi. Shout out to Zaina or Zena. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lorienis. Loranis. Sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Delilah. Oh wait, Delilah with an A. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Nicelle. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Ali or Ollie. Shout out to Bila. Shout out to Ellie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Excuse me. Shout out to Pearl. Whoops. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Leia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to John David. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Lyric. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Nadira. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Marspin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Amir. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emily. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Isa. Shout out to Bertha. Shout out to Barry. Shout out to Macy. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Adil. Shout out to Waya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mabel. Shout out to Natasha. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Chloe. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Camila. I put Waya here. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Alina. Elena, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jim. Shout out to Aliana. Shout out to Jace with the J. Oh wait, hold on. How do you spell? Jace, can you write your name again? Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Hansel. Shout out to Jim. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Jace with a J. Thank you for writing your name again. Shout out to Johanna. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Adele. Shout out to John Corbin. Shout out to Adil Ahmed. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Yo Boy Multi. Shout out to Betsy. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to JV. Shout out to Arizona. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Joven. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Marable. Shout out to what was it? Tainala? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emerald. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to 11. Shout out to Nikolai. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Carmen. Shout out to Jace. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, Alion. Thank you for stopping by. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Nanelli. Thank you for stopping by. Shout out to Cassia. Good night. Bye. Bye to the people that are leaving. Thank you for stopping by. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Kamsi. Shout out to Zion. Bye. Shout out to Alvia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rain. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Rain. I got you right here. Shout out to Fiona. Shout out to Annalisa. Shout out to Liv. You're welcome, Rain. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Anvi. Shout out to these people. Give me like 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Thank you for your patience. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Nico. Shout out to Shanuka. Shout out to Bloom. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Zimal. Shout out to Coco. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Bloom. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Thank you for subscribing, Coco. Give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Zion. Shout out to Malika. Shout out to Queen. Shout out to Jennifer. Shout out to Ivana. Shout out to Yana. Shout out to Sharmota. Shout out to Shuria. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Candice. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Phil. Shout out to Gianna. Shout out to Abrielle. Shout out to Samantha. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Also subscribe to my channel if you're enjoying the live stream. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Loli. Shout out to Emberly. Shout out to Maddie. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Morgan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jacaden. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Tegan. Shout out to Maple. Whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Henry. Thank you, Malika. Shout out to Malika. Shout out to Serenity. Sophia, I got you. Shout out to Amanda. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to a few more likes to maybe 140. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well and support. Shout out to Samara or Samara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Zablon. Shout out to Gannon. Shout out to Celine. Shout out to Anon. Leave your name in the comment section so I could shout you out. Shout out to Abem. Shout out to Sabian. Malika, yes, I can. Shout out to Nia. Shout out to Efron. Shout out to Antonella. Shout out to Margot. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Rigel. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Astrid. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Itzayana and Yaelin. Shout out to Ronaldo. Shout out to Yaretzi. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Naomi. Happy early birthday, Malika. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Malika. Thank you, Vanessa, for subscribing. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Len Kitty. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Paris. Shout out to Mela. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Jenny. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Sarah's. Shout out to Zablon. Shout out to Colson. Shout out to Nisel. Shout out to Zaina. Or Zena, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Yunche. Shout out to Hinami. Shout out to Rowan. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Robin. Shout out to Karina. Shout out to Glenda. Shout out to Karina, oh, I got you. Shout out to Valeria. Shout out to Raven. Shout out to Fasika. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Winter. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Himashi. Shout out to Nabia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Starfire. Shout out to Nabia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jotham. Shout out to Deliora. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Deliania. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to, whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Gabrielle. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lydia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to these people. Bye, Malika. Thank you for stopping by. On to the next page. Shout out to Kelsey. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Kailani. Shout out to Sabrila. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Tawny. Whoops. Shout out to Tanisha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Tiffany. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Jasper. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Sinach. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 140 likes, only 2 more likes. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Alishba. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Janice. Mackenzie, yes. Thank you for supporting my channel. Shout out to Abhinav. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Thank you at your fave, Brookie. Thank you for your comment and thank you for your support. Shout out to Willow. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Tamia or Tamia. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophia. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. Shout out to Halen. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stitch. Shout out to Yoli Yan. Shout out to Anabia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Arisha. I got Cora and Laura here. Shout out to Angera. Shout out to Tanisha. Shout out to Saya. Shout out to Urgie. Shout out to Rumi. You're welcome. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Chinu. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 140 likes, only 1 like away. Shout out to Sondor. Shout out to Isabelli. Shout out to Mira. Shout out to Seam. Shout out to Lydia. Shout out to Jaina. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Tilana. Shout out to Yana. Shout out to Blake. Shout out to Nayat. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stromedy. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Alistair. Or Alistar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Tanha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kavaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lydia. Shout out to Annalise. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Golden. Shout out to Delana. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Kavaya. Shout out to Kavaya. Thank you for showing me how to pronounce your name. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to Advika. Shout out to Finn. Shout out to Mirab. Shout out to Shilpa. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Zolia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Maripas. Shout out to Rosa. Shout out to Luz. Shout out to Suju. Shout out to Hana. Shout out to Mia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Shaylin. Shout out to Mia West. Shout out to Esther. Shout out to Kellyn. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Asanath. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Elizabeth. Shout out to Jade. Oh, I got Jade. Shout out to Jenna. Shout out to Abraham. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Jenna. Already got Jenna. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Minu. Shout out to Malaya. Shout out to Mystery. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to London. Shout out to Jonah. Shout out to Eliza. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Kenzie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Ishu. Shout out to Tiu. Shout out to Nakir. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Delilah. I'm gonna put Delilah over here. Shout out to D. Shout out to Prem. Shout out to Gio. Shout out to Shinobu. Shout out to Duma. Shout out to Ale. Shout out to Cynthia. Shout out to Althea. Shout out to Nimrod. Shout out to Sky. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Mubina. Shout out to Canvar. Shout out to Kyson. Shout out to Sky. Shout out to Oliver. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I normally do a shout out every day or sometimes 2 times a day. Please subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. Thank you so much for writing your name and taking the time to be here. I appreciate your support and your time as well. Subscribe if you want to support me and my channel. I also post other content. Thank you so much. Have a great day or a great night. Take care. Bye.